I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Everybody, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Hornady Podcast. I got Preston over here to my left, and we're pumped to have our guest on the show today. The guest doesn't really need an intro, but a fighter, a business owner, hunter, cook, father, husband, a lot of great stuff. So welcome, Chad Mendes. Appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This is awesome. You guys are doing this, and I'm pumped to be one of the first ones to get on here with you guys. So thank you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely at the top of our list, Chad Mendes.
Top of our list, yeah. Because we grew up fans. I say grew up, we're similar in age, but yeah, it's pretty cool to be chatting with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're part of the Hornady team, to be truthful. There's a lot of bullets, there's a lot of ammo out there, and Hornady is a small family-owned company, and we think we got a pretty darn premier product here, and so we thank you for using it. But let's jump in right out of the gate, right to the beginning. Chad Mendes, say 8, 10, 12 years old. When did you get into hunting? What were you doing around that time?
Oh, man. I mean, I started sports when I was actually 4 years old, and then I was actually swimming first and then jumped into wrestling at 5, and basically wrestled every single year from 5 all the way up through college. But wrestling was like my core, was my life. That's pretty much what I did the whole time. Hunting and fishing was always like a huge passion of mine. Absolutely loved doing it as a kid. My dad's the one that kind of got me into that. So he grew up actually in Southern California, didn't really do a lot of hunting down there. When he moved up to Hanford, which is like Central California, into the valley, he met a good group of guys that would go up into the Sierras and deer hunt and did some fishing all around the local lakes and stuff up there as well. And I think that's what kind of got him into it when he was younger, which just basically translated over to our whole family, my brothers, sisters. We would go up and go camping, and that was something that I looked forward to probably more than anything as a kid. Like, I loved sports. It was fun. But when my dad would be like, hey, this weekend we're going to go up and go hunting, like, I didn't sleep until we'd get up there. It was like Christmas every single time. And so that was definitely something I absolutely loved to do. And like I said, it was my dad. About 8 years old, I was definitely following him around in the woods, trying to find blacktail mule deer mix up here. And it's basically above Fresno is where we grew up hunting. But it just basically counted down the days so I could get my hunter safety to go deer hunting. And I was 11 and a half when I got it done, passed. And then as soon as I was 12, that season I went out and I actually harvested my very first deer with a bow. Nice. It was just a little tiny fork spike, just a tiny little thing, but arrowed them and got to experience the whole thing, the ups and downs of, tracking blood and jumping him. And then basically I actually got to watch him die, which was a very emotional thing for me at that time. I mean, I was 12 years old, first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And there was so much excitement because I got one and it was something I wanted more than anything in the world. But like watching this thing like stand there and tip over and expire in front of me was like, whoa, like it's a completely different
reality check.
You don't expect to see that, I guess, is what I'm saying at that age. And it definitely opened up a completely different side of hunting to me that you just don't really notice or think about when you're that age. Which was great. I think it was great for me and growing into who I am now as a hunter. It's not always about just killing and the murder and all this stuff. It's about the whole experience. But, knowing that when you're going out there, you're taking something's life, and that's very important. So you got to do it ethically and do things the right way because we don't want these things suffering, And so I think seeing that the very first time I think it was great for me. So about that time in my life, that's what I was doing, just kind of wrestling and following my pops and getting out in the woods and doing some hunting.
So were you a one sport athlete, would you say, or is there other sports that you did as well?
Wrestling was definitely the main sport. If there was any breaks in between, I would fill in other sports basically just to stay in shape. Like I did water polo for 4 years, which basically was like a couple months leading into the wrestling season. I don't know if you guys ever played water polo, but holy hell, is it hard, dude. Like I
Played
sink, I
Marco
don't
Polo.
float. Yeah, and so I'm just like swimming, sprinting, and I would be in the best wrestling shape when season would come. So I did that. When I was younger, I did gymnastics a little bit. Just my dad helped me or wanted me to get into that just for like body awareness as far as for wrestling, which I think was nice. It definitely helped out a lot. But yeah, I think those are probably the only two other sports I ever did outside of wrestling. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's totally different. Like we grew up in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere, Nebraska. You know, my town was 300. I think yours was
100.
Yeah. So if we didn't play all the sports, we didn't have a team. So we played all the sports.
Yeah, did all the sports, one act, choir. Yeah, you name
And
it.
you better believe it.
Yeah, that's cool though. That in your first hunt with a weapon in your hand, that you got to see that full process. Because in a lot of instances, like you mentioned, you don't get to see that animal expire. And of course, we eat what we shoot, but that really ties everything together, kind of full circle, and to conceptualize that at a young age, it had to be powerful emotionally at that time. That's and I mean, I shot a bunch of deer between the ages of 12 and probably 15 before I saw, I don't want to say a slow death, if you will, because everything I shot up to that point had been with a rifle, and it expired darn near instantly. But yeah, that was pretty impactful. I remember my first experience seeing that too.
Well, that's a big thing at our house too. Like sometimes my oldest won't eat all of his supper, and I'm really stressing to him, you know, if there's beef or pork on there, I'm like, you really need to eat that because that animal gave its life for us. And you know, if he doesn't, I'll finish it off for him. But I'm trying to stress that early. He's almost 3.
Yeah, see, I think that's good. And I think that's something that I'm trying to instill in my daughter as well. I have a 2-year-old girl right now. We have another one in December. But, you know,
Congrats.
teaching her, like anytime I cook a meat, I tell her what it is and where it came from. Like Papa went and shot this with his bow and arrow, or Papa went and shot this with his rifle. And like I want to tell her, you know, what a weapon is and how it's used and where this meat came from and why, you know, how we're able to actually sit down and eat this. I'm barbecuing on the grill and then we're eating on the plate. Thankfully, she absolutely loves meat. So like if anything else on her plate, she'll eat the meat first before anything else, which is definitely my daughter. But it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, I'm trying to basically explain that at a young age and just teach her where everything comes from. And me and a good buddy of mine who's my business partner, Chad Belding, we started a brand called The Provider, which we have a basically like a line of rubs that are geared toward wild game, but we just came out with a cookbook. And the whole idea of this brand is basically what we're talking about now. You know, teaching this next generation, which is definitely a dying thought, like knowing where your food comes from and having that connection to the land and being able to go out and be a provider and provide for yourself and for your friends and for your family is something that we are getting away from. Like it's starting to disappear, you know, and it's now looked at, I mean, we all know it in the hunting world, it's looked at like we're the bad guys. Like you're evil if you go out and hunt and you want to put food on your table and do it that way, you know? Why don't you just go to the store? I get people say this all the time. Why don't you just go to the store and buy your meat like everybody else? Quit killing these animals. And I'm just like,
if you're gonna say that, you better be a full-fledged vegan.
Yeah, but even still, I mean, I can argue. Anyways, we could go off on that tangent, you know what I mean? But it's just crazy that, you know, that thought process is dying, and I don't want to see that. Neither does my business partner Belding. Like that's something that we stress a ton, and we teach our kids. And obviously, it sounds like you guys are doing the same thing. But this is something we're very passionate about, and I want this to live on. I have a picture right here with me and my daughter. It's on my desk. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
It's basically me and my daughter fishing. She's 2 years old right there. And, you know, that looking at that photo, it's so powerful to me. Just being able to see my daughter at that age, so interested in her bobber. She's looking at her bobber, like knowing when that goes under, I have a fish on, you know,
laser focus,
hyper mentality. Like I want to get out there and catch something, you know, and I want to see this next generation with that love and that passion and that spirit for the outdoors. And it's something, like I said, I feel like it's dying, and it's definitely our job to get out there and promote this and keep that spirit alive for this next generation. So we'll see.
And I definitely think as rural areas get smaller and cities get bigger, I mean, it went from everybody thinking that it's commonplace to hunt to a small number of people to nobody all of a sudden real quick.
Yeah, and we're kind of disjointed because we still live extremely rural in a state that's, very vast and empty for the most part. So it's still pretty common here, but yeah, in those bigger places it's not. But I think the name of that company, the provider, that that name evokes exactly what you said, but it does it in one word.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. I think yeah, I've got a 6 and a 3-year-old boy, and yeah, it's bringing home something, and they're out there in the driveway, if it's, in the back of my truck or something, taking pictures with it. Or Preston and I hunted antelope here a few years ago, and I brought home some antelope tenderloins that I had marinated. It was a afternoon that we stayed the night somewhere, and then we drove home the next day. So I had them marinating that night, got home, and put them on the grill, still in the clothes I was traveling in, and to watch, just throwing it down as fast as I could get it off the grill. And you know how little an antelope tenderloin is, but ate that whole thing right there.
Awesome.
No accompanying food. That feeling is awesome.
Yep. It's the most primal experience I feel like we can have as humans. And it's like, you on these hunts and you're successful, being able to cook that stuff over an open fire in camp after a long pack out or something like that. Like, there's so many people on this planet that will never experience that or feel what that feels like, and that's the type of stuff that we want to keep promoting and like explain to people. And I think we got guys, like Rogan and Cam and Dudley and, all these big influencers that are doing a great job of showing this next generation that look up to these people for other reasons, and then see, okay, well, they're going out and hunting. Like, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And if it's explained in the right way, and same thing with like Ranella. Ranella is so articulate, and he does such a great job at explaining to anybody, somebody that's never even seen or heard of hunting, if they were to watch his show, they can understand it. And I think that's huge for, like I said, this next generation that's coming up that basically is just so connected to sitting on their phones like this all day long and going into the store, just grabbing a package of meat and going home and making it, and not having any connection. There's zero connection to what that is that they just purchased. There's no face to it. They didn't have to go out and kill it. There was no cleaning or processing of it. It's just a clean piece of meat in a package. I'm going to grab it, throw it on the barbecue, and eat it. Easy peasy, And so that's kind of the whole background on the provider and why we wanted to start that. But yeah, I think these guys are doing a great job, and like I said, I feel like it's our job to keep bringing that next generation to this topic and this subject, and basically opening their eyes to it, because if we don't do it, it's going to go away. And I'm in California, so I see it a ton.
You see it firsthand.
It's so sad, man. It really is. But that's just the world we live in nowadays. So we gotta figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it sounds like you had a really fantastic introduction to hunting, and when you have that type of environment to learn about the outdoors and to share experiences with family and close friends, that it just draws you closer and closer, because every memory you have hunting or camping or whatever is good. So how did you keep that passion alive, if you will, during the college years of wrestling? Preston and I were both college athletes on a much smaller scale, but it becomes a full-time job when you hit that level. And it was really hard, just again, on my small scale, and you could probably relate.
I missed opening weekend of rifle season for 4 years.
Yeah, and that's something that we would have never missed before. So how did that work for you, working through that?
Man, it was really tough. When I got into college, you're obviously moving away from where you grew up. I wasn't super far, 2-3 hours away, but it's just even further away. You got school, which is already a full-time thing. Then you got 2 practices a day and competitions every weekend. You got your weight cutting, and it was tough. And I honestly didn't do a ton of hunting in college. And not that I didn't want to. I wanted to be out there every single day. It's just there was priorities, and I just didn't have the time or the means. Obviously money is tight in college. Being able to get gas money to go drive somewhere, 3 or 4 hours away to go do something, there was just a lot of things basically keeping me from doing it. But that didn't mean I ever let the passion go away. It was definitely something I thought about all the time.
It probably fueled it even more, I would think.
I think so, because when I graduated and I moved to Sacramento, I went like hardcore into hunting and fishing. I started learning all the river systems up here. We have the Sacramento River, the Feather River, the Yuba River. There's so many different rivers that have salmon and stripers and, steelhead. And we got a great system of fishing up here. I started learning all that, got a little boat. Like as soon as I think it was maybe like my second or third fight that I'd won. And I'm like, I'm buying a little boat. I bought like a little
That's awesome.
Gregor, me and my dad just like painted it and cleaned it up, and I would go out there after practice. Sometimes I'd train all day and then I'd get out real quick for an evening fish right before dark or something, and I'd just be out there in my little 15 horse motor just putting around, and so that was something I did. And then obviously learning any of the hunting up here, like where I was from, there was no turkeys, Central California. So I never really turkey hunted my whole life, and there's tons of them up here in Northern California. And so I started figuring out how to turkey hunt, learned how to turkey hunt, which now I absolutely love it. And then, the deer hunting up here is obviously a lot better than where I was in the valley. We had to go up into the Sierras, which was a 2-3 hour drive away. But man, we got spots now here where I can hunt basically in my backyard or, walking distance away. So deer hunting was a lot better up here. So yeah, man, as soon as I graduated, I just basically went obviously still training, doing all the fighting stuff. But what's great about fighting is you can train for 8 to 10 weeks and then typically take 2 or 3 weeks off, let your body heal, especially if you're banged up, bruised up, or if you broke something or whatever it may be. So that I would use that time to go out and fish or plan a hunting trip like right after a fight, and I would just be gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and then come back and get right back into it. But man, it was definitely, there's like looking back at that time right when I graduated, like I said, it was almost had that same feeling as when I was a kid, like Christmas morning, every single time I was getting ready to go hunt again, just because it was like such a new world up here for me, and so I really enjoyed it, man. I've grown into, the hunter that I am now, basically learning all that stuff from moving up here, and there's no looking back, man. I love it. I'm doing stuff out of state now all the time, and I'd never done that before. Obviously in college, I'm I just don't have the means to go do that stuff, and so
at the time.
Yeah. So it's been fun, man. I really enjoy it. It's a huge passion of mine, and hopefully my daughter has the same love for it.
Doesn't sound like she has a choice. She's surrounded by it and always smiling and having fun doing it.
It seems she loves it.
So you are hunting out of state quite a bit now. You've got your Finz and Featherz, that sort of thing. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm kind of curious, what is hunting like in California? From Nebraska, we kind of feel like California is a foreign place almost. And it's kind of sad to say that, but what is it like? Is there any hunting in Southern California? Is it easy to get tags? Obviously you're using lead-free ammunition there and stuff like that, but kind of give me the rundown on California.
Yeah, so I talk about this with a lot of buddies that are from the Midwest, and the same thing. They're just like, well, isn't California all beaches? Everybody just walking around smoking weed? And I'm like, no, it's not all like that. There's a lot of that, yes, but no, man, I wish California's, I just wish they paid a little bit more attention to conservation and management. I feel like California could be one of the best states in the world. And I'm saying this with full confidence, in the world for hunting. We have some unbelievable hunting, but it's just not managed properly. And there's for example, we have, I'm sure you guys know, we can't kill mountain lions. So there's zero mountain lion population control. And we all know how many deer they kill. I think an adult can kill, something like six mature deer a year or a week or something like that. Basically, we know how much damage they can do to a deer population, and we cannot touch them. So, and it's been like that for years. So that in itself is tough. We used to be able to use dogs on bear hunting. And so we would have a quota that every year, once that quota was hit, then bear season would stop. Well, they can't do that anymore. And that quota hasn't been touched in 5 years. We don't even hit that quota anymore. And so the bear population, which was already really big in California, we have tons of bears. had just exploded. Now they're moving into rural areas even more than they were. Tons of problem bears getting in, like Tahoe area is just insane, breaking into cabins. I have a funny story about that. Me and my wife and my daughter were driving and on a busy street in Tahoe, and I look over and there's a big brown bear with a missing back leg hobbling out of a house. Doors like ripped off the hinges. It's got Tupperware in its mouth, walking down the stairs, and there's just trash and everything from the house and out of the fridge coming out, like spilling out of the house down the stairs. And it walks over and just lays down in the grass and just starts chewing on the Tupperware. So I pull in and I'm like, get out of here, and like spooked it out because I knew it was somebody's like vacation home, you know. Mm-hmm. And I like peeked in the house and it was upside down, dude, just trashed, like whole fridges knocked over, stuff everywhere. And I tried to, like, as much as I could, prop that door back up, and there's a big snow machine. I pulled it in front of the door, but you know, that bear just pushed that out of the way when I left and went back in. But anyways, what I'm saying is the population, or the predator population here, is not managed at all. Or if it is, it's very poorly done because it's a lot of emotional regulations set in place because of the anti-hunters, tons of anti-hunters that live here. Listen to this. I mean, we got the only place in the world you can hunt all species of elk. We have Tule elk, we have Roosevelt's, and we have Rocky Mountain. No other state in the world has that. We have unbelievable turkey hunting. We have Rios and Merriam's. We have unbelievable fishing, tons of different lake types fishing. We have river stuff, all the off coast like tuna. We have, which is bluefin, yellowfin. We have yellowtail, halibut, salmon. Trout fishing's unbelievable. We got, if you go down to Southern California, we have some of the best sheep hunting in the world. I think Jason Harrison, the owner of Kuyu, killed Goliath in Southern California, which these tags are extremely difficult to draw.
Sure.
Nonetheless, that is managed really well down there, but unbelievable sheep hunting. You do have some other hunting in Southern California. There's mule deer down there. I don't think the mule deer hunting is, like, the population is not great, but there are mule deer down there. You move up into Central California, you have blacktail mule deer hybrids. You come up out to the coast, you have pure blacktail, and some of the best pure blacktail you'll ever see in the world. Really nice bucks up there. We have unbelievable waterfowl hunting, that Pacific flyway that comes down, basically where the Sacramento airport is, like the Sutter Buttes and all that stuff. Unbelievable waterfowl hunting. And the list goes on. We have pretty good hunting. There's the population of stuff just isn't managed well, and I think it could be done a lot better. You can kill 2 bucks here in California. Our deer population, the herd, is already struggling because of the predator population, but this is just a prime example. We can kill 2 bucks and no does, and it only has to have a fork on one side. So it could be a fork, basically a 1.5 year old deer. And those here on public land in California, the first one that's seen, they're gone. Like, right. You don't pass that here, you know? And so it's like, we don't need to kill 2 deer. Make it a 1 buck, make it a 3-point or better, you know? And in some areas that have tons of does, like there's areas that I hunt and you'll see hundreds of does in a day. It's like, let's get some of the population control of those down and balance that population from buck to doe. And then obviously if we could control the population of predators, if there was a certain amount of lines that we could take a year, because there are, obviously the population of those has exploded. And then what do we got to do to meet this quota for black bear again? You know, my buddy was just scouting the other day up in one of our Northern California zones, and he was watching a nice buck, and off to the right, there was a doe and a fawn. And all of a sudden he sees a big bear come into the canyon down below, and he gets wind of those deer. Buck boogers out, and he pans over to follow the buck. Maybe 2 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden he hears one of the deer scream, and he pans back over, and that bear had gone up and got the fawn and was sitting there. He's right in front of him. And it's like, how often does that happen? Way more than I think we even realize, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
In that area, he's like, it's not uncommon to see 8 to 10 bears in a weekend. There's so many up there. And it's like, what are we doing for that? And there's not much. Yeah. So
is there a lot of public land in California?
There is. Yeah, there is. Obviously there's a ton of private too, but there are like a lot of those wilderness areas. And that's another thing. The last few years now, a lot of the national forests, because of fires, they're closing everything down. So
right.
You know, you buy these tags for these areas, it's over the counter, and you plan out your whole season, and then like you know, a day or two into the season, they're like, oh, we're actually closing everything. And it's like, okay, so I don't get to hunt. I just wasted money, you know, on buying my tags.
Time and effort and a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, guys are spending money, gas money to go up there and scout before and doing all that stuff. Yeah, all that's gone. And that's happened a couple years now, maybe even 3 years in a row. So, yeah, man, there's just a lot of stuff going on. That's my rant.
Sometimes you need to get it off your chest.
Yeah, I feel better. Thank you.
It sounds like California, ton of opportunity, certainly from a game standpoint. And yeah, that is
at least there's a lot of public land there. Like that's something, you know, I never really thought there may be. We come from Nebraska, there's 3% of the state is public land. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but there are some big chunks, but it's not enough in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff that could be public that's not.
Yeah. Here's a good, I do a YouTube channel where I vlog a lot of my own personal hunts. And I drew me and a buddy drew a tag here in California. It's somewhat on the Nevada border side of California, kind of central, but it's all backcountry. We had a company pack us in on horses, and we just, you know, like a drop camp. But I filmed this and I posted, and I had buddies from the Midwest that watched that, and they're like, dude, that's California? I had no idea. It's like huge mountainous, you know, granite and thick timber. And it's just absolutely, it looks like you're hunting out of state somewhere, you know, Montana maybe. And it's like, no, we have these beautiful spots. We have some unbelievable areas that have great hunting in them. It's like I said, it's just the management could be done a little bit better. Not so many decisions made off of emotion versus science and numbers and facts. You know what I mean? And so that's the state we live in. I don't know if that's ever going to change, unfortunately, but we have the potential here to be, you know, unbelievable as far as the outdoorsman and hunting goes. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever change. It's kind of
coming from a guy who has, you know, you have literally hunted all over the country, probably all over the world. To say that California has all of that potential, that means something, because you've seen the best of the best, and it is kind of unfortunate. But
well, obviously you've got a lot of passion about outdoors and hunting and stuff like that. Is it, I mean, am I remembering correctly? Because I've watched a lot of stuff with you on YouTube and from the Hushin guys and all that, but did you feed your wedding party all wild game? Is that correct?
I did, yeah. So that year before, me and my wife had set a goal. I had 2 public land elk hunts that we had scheduled, and then I drew that moose hunt that we were talking about earlier, which was all, obviously it's Alaska, it's all public, but I had those 3 hunts, and I said, look, if I could go and if I am successful on all 3 of these hunts, we'll have enough meat to feed our entire wedding party. We wanted all the back straps, obviously. So that's 6 just giant back straps to the ground and stuff like that for like other things, appetizers and stuff. But if we can be successful on these, we'll have enough meat to feed our whole wedding. And went out, one of them was the one that me and Eric Chesser went on, that southern Utah, the public land. Dude, it was one of the hardest hunts ever. Like we went like 6 or 7 days without even seeing an elk. And then at the end, it just came together. He killed a nice one, and then I was able to get that nice bull too. And so that was the one. And then my wife was with me on the other one. It was an Oregon backcountry hunt that me, my dad, and my wife went on. Same thing, drop camp, wall tent. And, you know, me and her had hiked down in this huge canyon for an evening hunt, which was a little spooky coming out of there. But I snuck up, I killed this bull, and she was filming the whole thing, and that's on my YouTube too. And
the setting was kind of spooky now that you mentioned it. Like,
dude, obviously she'd never done anything like that, so I kill this bull, and she's like holding legs, and I'm, you know, helping me get it all processed and cut up, and I mean, I'm basically hiking stuff out in the middle of the night. She's got a headlamp and like a small flashlight. Battery started to die. You know, there's wolves in the area. We have mountain lions, bears, and she's kind of like freaking out. You know, it was kind of in the beginning of our relationship, and she's just like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Yeah, right.
She had a nice wall tent when you got back.
Yeah, my dad was there, and so it was good. We got back late at night, early in the morning, really. And he's like, man, I figured you guys got something, but I was a little nervous. But we ended up just cooking up some dinner right there and just kind of reminiscing about the hunt. But so that was the second bull. So we were successful there. And then I drew that moose tag and went out there. Me and my buddy Pat ended up getting it done on that big bull. And so we had enough meat, man. It was awesome. Everybody
that is
everybody that went to our wedding.
How big of a party was it?
What?
How many people do you think you fed?
Oh man, how many do we have? I want to say we had like 200 people at our wedding.
Wow.
Everybody loved it too. They're like, "Holy
Yeah.
crap! I've never been to a wedding that served wild game." Even the our caterer, they had never done anything like that, and so obviously they're pros at cooking and just had to basically give them the tips of just don't overcook it type
Don't
stuff.
overcook it. Yeah.
But no, it turned out amazing. They did some really good stuff with it, and it was cool, man. It's definitely, that just goes back to that provider mentality and that brand, and being able to provide for so many friends and family members. Like, there's nothing better than that. Like, when I'm sitting there with my wife sitting next to me, we just walked out, we're sitting down and we're at the head table and we're watching everybody just enjoying their wild game meal, knowing that like me and her went out and basically harvested all that. It's just one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah, and that you physically carried that out on your back. Like, you have sweat equity, not just in planning the hunt and shooting the animal and whatever. Like, it takes.
There's a lot of full circle instances, and I think that's probably the fullest circle I've ever heard of.
It was
pretty
so
fantastic.
And so I was able to film them all. So like I get like these people all watched these hunts before the wedding. So they knew exactly which hunt and like where it came from and like seeing how it all went down. And then now they're sitting there eating it and they're like, dude, this is so cool. It was a pretty awesome experience for sure. Not only, I mean, obviously marrying my best friend, but like being able to see all that and be a part of all that was just cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I was going to say, having friends that wrestled, and I wanted to ask this, that you're a passionate cook, or at least I've watched a bunch of your stuff doing all your cooking videos. Do you think that your passion for cooking and food was maybe fueled because of dietary
100%
selection and restriction?
Yeah, 110%.
Yeah, you were talking about daydreaming about hunting while you were training and stuff. And I wonder, daydreaming about food too, like during cutting cycles and stuff.
So my dad was always the one that cooked. My dad loved cooking too. So growing up, he was always the one just whipping stuff up in the kitchen and making the whole family these amazing meals. And so I think that's what kind of caught my attention. I always enjoyed like watching him do that stuff. And like, obviously the food was amazing. And then when I started in high school is basically when I started cutting weight. I think it was my sophomore year in high school was the first time I ever cut weight. So from then on, those weeks of cutting weight, and you're watching, my dad always watched like the Food Channel and stuff like that, and so I'm sitting there on the couch just like, I'm gonna make and that basically led all the way up to my fight career. And I remember just in the hotel like 2 or 3 days before the fight, and I'm sitting there watching the Food Channel and, in between workouts or media or whatever. And my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm just like taking notes, like, oh, I'm making this. Watch this. And so, that definitely fueled a lot of that. But yeah, man, I have such a strong connection with food. And I really do believe it has to do with the weight cutting and, basically taking it away from myself for those times that make you really appreciate what things taste like and the combinations of flavors that can be put into something to create something so delicious, and like seeing somebody's ideas and go, God, how come I didn't think of that? That's awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna take some of that over there, and I think I'm gonna put this in that though. It's gonna make it even better, and that's what cooking and creating recipes is all about. Is just, you're finding all these little things and kind of tweaking things and adding stuff and fine-tuning things to where you're like, oh, that's the one, So yeah, we just created, me and Belding did that. It's the Provider Cookbook. And man, I honestly, leading up to that, I never thought I would ever do a cookbook. Obviously I do like YouTube cooking videos. I like just doing that type of stuff, but holy hell, was that a lot of work. Like I'm off to these people that can do like 3 or 4 cookbooks. Like, I don't know if I'll ever do another one. We ended up doing like 90 recipes. I think it was a 9-day period where I would drive to Belding's house and we would use other kitchens and stuff. But you basically have to cook. We cooked 90 recipes and took photos for the cookbook. It's all the photography for it, and it's like,
keeping it all organized,
photos, clean for 9 days straight. And they were like 10 to 15-hour days of doing this for 9 days straight. It's like, wow. I gained about 8 pounds.
Good for you.
And at the end, I was like, I don't want to ever cook again. I don't want to clean another dish. It was a ton of stuff, but it was fun, man. We got some really cool recipes done, and got some really cool photos. And this is it's pre-sale right now. People can buy it on Amazon. And we're actually going to give away 2 tickets, floor tickets to my fight. It was supposed to be October, but we're now probably going to be back in November. But we're going to give away 2 floor tickets to any pre-sale that basically we're going to pick 2 winners. Any pre-sale that.
Cool.
And so yeah, man, we're excited. It's going to be fun.
Get my hands on one of those books.
Yeah, you get the pre-sale on Amazon.
That'd be great.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good.
Yeah, and for our listeners, Chad has a wonderful YouTube channel, and that's honestly where I get some of my recipes. My favorite recipe you've ever did was what I call the venison loin fatty, where you take that loin and you essentially roll it out and make it flat, and you stuff it full of cream cheese and sautéed mushrooms and onions, and then put it in the bacon weave. I think you do yours on the smoker. I do mine in cast iron and finish it in the oven. That is my favorite way to do loin right now.
It's so good, right?
And I mean,
you want to crawl inside and eat your way out of it.
I'm so hungry right now just thinking about it.
I love it too, because you can do anything. I mean, that's what's so good about recipes. It's like you could do the cream cheese sauteed, any type of vegetable, basically. If you want to do pine nuts, you can do, I've done pistachios where like you blend them up. So it's like almost like a paste, and put that in there. You can do pretty much anything that sounds good to you, and you roll it up, weave that sucker in bacon and let her rip, man. It's so easy. It's not, I wouldn't say that's an easy recipe. That's probably a little bit more on the
knife skills have to be a little bit
better. As far as
but at the end of the day, it's simple. You just got to execute it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so good.
Details. What's your favorite game animal to eat?
Man, people ask me all the time. That's a
tough. I'm sure you get that question a lot, so I figured you'd have an answer queued up.
I think this one. So this year, do you guys know what this is?
Emsbuck.
Yeah, me and a buddy went to New Mexico, and he went out there and hunted the oryx last year. And he gave me like a couple packs of steak, and I was like, "Phew, dude, that is really good. I need to go get one of those." I went out earlier this year and got one with him, and we've been living off that for the last week or so now. I just got the meat back, and that is definitely up there. I'd say the oryx. I really like axis deer.
I've heard of that one being.
What about North American natives? So would it be like moose or
native
elk
animals?
Oh, gotcha.
Antelope?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff's all great to me. Have you guys ever had nilgai?
No, but I've heard excellent things.
Yeah,
that's actually really damn good too. I would probably say my top 3 are oryx, axis, nilgai, and then elk, and probably antelope is right there too.
Yeah, I'll join you.
Antelope's
got to be in there somewhere too. Moose is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, if whether moose is good or not, there's so much of it, you kind of have to like it.
Yeah, right.
Do a lot of eating. We got to watch the time here. I know he's got an appointment after this. Any rapid fire kind of questions you want to get?
What were you using on the elk hunts? Gun, cartridge? I know moose was 338 Lapua. Is that right?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah. I ended up shooting at like 50 yards. We probably could have brought that back a little bit, but I just didn't know. I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I was like, I may never go on a moose hunt again. Let's go heavy here. So yeah. So that was good. Most of my elk, I go with the 7 mag. I like the EODX, the 7 mag. I use those. I just got the 6.5 PRC that I've been using. I took that on my sheep hunt last year, which I didn't get a sheep, but I've used that on even whitetail. Killed some whitetail with it. Does great. I'm hoping to use it this year on a nice blacktail buck. So
that's a killer.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. But yeah, those are probably my go-tos.
I like it. Yeah, that 6.5 PRC. I haven't used it a ton. I've shot it a ton hunting wise. I haven't used it, but man, it's fast. It's flat.
Yeah.
And it should be awesome.
I just created one. I took a 24-inch and cut it down to 18. 6.5 PRC, and essentially what I'm hoping to do is create 6.5 Creedmoor velocity and performance out of a short little gun.
Yeah.
And then when I put the can on it, it'll be kind of not ridiculously long for carrying around.
Gotcha. Man, I wish we could use cans out here.
I was about to ask that. I don't know. Are you a suppressor fan as far as hunting goes?
I am, man. I love them. I've used them in Texas. I've used them in other states, and dude, it's unbelievable. Obviously, the kick is gone, and it's so quiet. It's a no-brainer to me, but again, we have so many rules here in California that are made off of emotion, and it's like
Sure.
not looking at the big picture here. So, but no, I am a fan. I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, I'm dyed in the wool. If I'm hunting and it's legal, there's a can on the gun. The
Yep.
animals react different. I react different. Everybody around me reacts different. It's just better.
I agree.
There's some countries out there in the world that it's kind of frowned upon not
Yeah.
to use a
Yeah.
can when you're
Yeah.
hunting.
I think Norway, my business partner went, I think it was Norway. And that's how it was over there. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. But yeah, he's like, everybody used them. He's like, and same thing. He's like, if you didn't have one on your gun, everyone's like, what the hell's your problem?
Kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else before we go? I was going to ask one more highlight of you. The ability to hunt all over the country and in different continents and stuff. It's got to be amazing. If you had a most memorable experience on a hunt, what hunt was that?
Man, I definitely would say that elk hunt I was talking about with my dad and my wife. Just having her, because she's from Missouri, so she grew up around hunting. Her dad whitetail hunted and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. But she'd never done it, and so when we got together, I took her on her first wild boar hunt. She's got a couple turkeys, even one with a bow. And so like I was basically kind of getting her into it, and having her there on not only just one of my most memorable hunts, even if she wasn't there, just that whole backcountry experience and being successful on a nice 6x6 bull and it being public, and just the hunt itself was awesome. But now having my partner there with me, and being able to experience the whole thing, like seeing her emotions skyrocket after, like when I killed the thing, and like her being so excited, knowing like we just got like meat for our wedding, and like the success and the excitement it was really cool to be a part of. And it's all on film. That's what's awesome too. So I actually went back just a couple of weeks ago when I was watching that with my daughter. And I kind of forget about these YouTube videos like that are so far back like that. And it's like, these are here forever. That's what's so
Right.
about this is like, let's go revisit this. And so we were at the kitchen table and my wife actually walked up and we were sitting there watching it. And it's cool just to relive all that emotion and excitement that she felt and that I felt too, And so
Yeah. And now your daughter gets to share it.
Exactly. When she gets older and she really starts understanding everything, I'd like to just sit there and watch all of it with her.
Yeah, make some popcorn. That's cool.
Yeah.
And everyone pretty much I've had on this podcast so far, I've asked that same question to, and every one of them has come back with an answer that not completely, but almost has nothing to do with the size of the animal that they killed on the hunt. Almost, I can't think of one, and we don't have a ton. Like Steve Hornady's, for example, had nothing to do with actually what he was hunting, and it just had to do with where he was hunting and how cold it was, and doing things like going to the bathroom and stuff when it's minus 40 degrees outside. So, yeah, so it's cool to hear. We talked being full circle about eating what we harvest, but those experiences that we got to live and that we can revisit, and we obviously pay homage to the animal, and we're grateful for the animal and everything, but the experiences that we got to share it with, and you can, I don't know.
Yeah, when I look up at mounts or whatever on my wall, it's not like, oh, that's a huge deer. No, it's like, oh, I was with Reese and I shot that 150 yards and we were down in this draw. Like, it's the memories.
You can go right back to where you shot.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I agree, man. And same thing with pictures. And there's a lot of fans that follow me for the fight side of it that don't understand hunting. A lot of people from out of the country, some countries, hunting is just not acceptable. It's like just kind of a weird thing. But the grip and grin is something we always talk about, and it's like, okay, I get that you're killing this animal for food, but why do you have to pose with it? And it's like, I always go back to the same reason when that $80 meal that you just ordered at a high-end restaurant comes out, and everybody does this. You go to a restaurant, look,
it's
gets brought to the table, everyone pulls out their phone, because you're excited about it, you're happy, your food releases the endorphins, the feel good stuff. Like that's the connection to the food that we have that a lot of these people are suppressing and overlooking. Like that's where that comes from. Well, that's the same thing. I'm proud that I just killed this mule deer or this elk. I'm excited. I'm wanting to show it off. Like I want to show the world how excited I am, all the work that I just put in to be successful. Now I have some organic free range elk to last me for the rest of the year to live off of. That's the same thing, and it's there's people that look at it like, well, it's just murder and you're taking this photo and it's just kind of rubbing it in its face. And it's like, it's not, you're missing the point here. And this is what the point is.
Yeah. If they knew even an inkling of what goes into a hunt, emotionally,
they don't have any interest either.
No, which is, fine. Do your thing, I suppose. Different strokes for different folks.
Like, I don't expect everybody to want to go out there and kill something. Like I have family members that love to eat wild game, but they straight up say, look, I just can't see myself killing the animal. Like I just can't bring myself to do it. Fair enough. Like to each their own. I get it, but I can do that. Obviously it's not something I'm like bloodthirsty. I just want to go out there and kill, but I know for me to eat meat, it's going to require something to die. And the animal's dying for a reason because I'm eating it, my family's eating it, and my friends are eating it, and that's the reason why we're doing this. But yeah, there's just a lot of people that are like, I don't mind eating wild game. I'll eat even beef or any type of meat. I just can't see myself killing it. And it's like, all right, to each their own. So I respect it, I respect it, but this is my point. And what I'm saying is I can do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to ever apologize for doing it because that's the way of life that I choose. I want to be better, so.
And if you don't like it, it's just going to be noise.
Yeah.
That's right. So.
Awesome. Well, we didn't get a chance to cover Finz and Featherz.
Didn't go down any rabbit holes. Kind of stayed at the top.
Yep, right.
There was a very common theme, though.
Yeah. So if our listeners want more information on Finz and Featherz, where do they go to get that?
You guys can go to finzandfeathers.com, and this is my shirt. Finz and Featherz spelled with Z's. I know it's weird, but the guy that when we originally started this wouldn't sell us the S's. He had already bought it. So guys, but anyways, finzandfeathers.com. Basically what we do is we put together a full year-long schedule of different hunting and fishing trips all over the world with different outfitters. And then we put different celebrities on the trips with clients. So different UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, pro ball players, actors. We have pro snowboarders, PBR guys, just a mix of all kinds of different athletes and people that you might watch on TV that love the outdoors, love hunting, love fishing, and just have a ton of things in common with everybody else that's booking on these trips. Now you get to go on a really cool hunt or fishing trip, and then also get to share it with one of these people that you see on TV. You go to a meet and greet, you can shake people's hands, take a photo. It's like 30 seconds and then you're on your way. Where we all know in hunting camp, the type of camaraderie and bonding you get, basically you don't get that anywhere else. It's, when you're sitting around a campfire at night after a successful pack out or whatever it may be, telling stories about the day or, it's something that you don't get anywhere else. And that's kind of the I guess our business model and our idea about this was obviously teaching people how to hunt, how to fish, how to do these things correctly, but also making it a very unique experience and getting to bond with other people that you normally would never get the opportunity to do that with. So that's Finz and Featherz. It has been unbelievable. We launched this back in 2015 and had just getting bigger and bigger, been getting bigger and bigger each year. This last year we did 3. So we do a tuna trip out of San Diego every year. Typically it's one boat that we charter and then go out for a 3-day trip. Last year we sold out 3 of those boats. This year we've already sold out 5 for next year. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is
you guys.
Awesome, man. It's been so cool. And these trips are fun for me. It's, these are definitely like the more relaxing. You're not hiking, you're on a boat. You got bedrooms down below. It's, cooks on board, cooking all your stuff. But I'm a tequila guy. So I get to sip tequila in the sun, catch bluefin tuna, and just hang out with a bunch of people that love hunting, love fishing. And you just get to tell stories and catch fish all day. So these are definitely a good time for me. And I enjoy going on all of them. My wife's not too happy about that. I'm usually on all of July and August. So
man.
Wow.
She's good. She knows that it's what's put.
Well, you're a guy that can't stop. You're very busy all the time. So she's got to understand that. She knew that before. She knew that before she said I do.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the provider stuff, if somebody wants to buy that, where can they buy that at? Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's theproviderlife.com. We are locking up those rubs too in some really big retail locations. We're working on our Sportsman's Warehouse, so those will be in all the Sportsman's Warehouses, which is huge. That's probably our biggest one. We got Murdoch's Ranch and Home Supply, which is another one we just locked up. Big R, I don't know. I think you guys have that out there, right? Big R. We don't have them in California, but they're more Western United States, but just never. I don't know if they made it out to Cali, but Big R, and then tons of Ace Hardwares all around Northern California. We got some in the Midwest and even on the East Coast. So, but yeah, if anyone wants to just buy them off the site, you can go and order them straight off the website, theproviderlife.com. And then also the cookbooks are on Amazon. If you just type in the provider cookbook, you'll see it on there. And like I said, we're doing the pre-orders. Any pre-order that gets in now through October 1st, you get entered in, and we're gonna choose 2 winners for the floor seats for my fight. So
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, Chad, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking with us. We know you're a busy guy, but like I said, we appreciate you sitting down, and I'm looking forward to doing another one of these down the line, and maybe get you to come to the Midwest and do like a whitetail hunt in the rut in Nebraska or something. That'd be great.
Let's do it, man. That would be awesome. We've got
turkeys everywhere. So if you're into turkeys,
Target
we got
rich
that too.
environment.
Indeed.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yes. And everybody out there, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Hornady podcast, and we will catch you on another one.